the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Minnesota Vikings, and this was another thriller, an overtime game, and the Vikings lost. I'm going to be objective here. The Vikings lost because Dalvin Cook fumbled. At least it was called a fumble on the field, but in my opinion, it wasn't a fumble, and if you rewatch the replay, Dalvin Cook was down, and he didn't fumble, but nonetheless, that turnover led to the Bengals winning the game ultimately with McPherson hitting the game-winning field goal. But Joe Burrow, off of two knee surgeries, I believe MCL and ACL, or having two knee injuries, coming back in the first game, not even playing the preseason, but coming back in the first game and being phenomenal. Having that connection with Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase having that criticism on him that he drops a bunch of balls in the preseason. The Bengals overcame a lot. And how big of a win do you think this was for Joe Burrow and the Bengals and their confidence moving forward? I'll start with you, Riv.
Oh, this is a huge win. You know, like you said, Joe Burrow coming back from 2 knee surgeries, Jamar Chase, all the credits in the preseason. You know, Cincinnati hasn't been a good team for a couple seasons, and they've been waiting to, you know, get back to that playoff contention. And I think this game, you know, just builds the confidence for these young guys. Because if you look at their offense, Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow, even that offensive line, you got Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, a lot of young guys. You know, this is a pretty young offense that's just starting with each other. And you even look at the defense. You know, Jesse Bates, you know, he's the one lone young guy out there, but still.
No, on defense, they have a lot of young guys, too.
Well, I'm saying the lone young star out there. So it's like, you look at this
Did they lose William Jackson to the
football team? Yeah, he's on
Washington.
They gained Shadobe Awuzie and Mike Hilton.
Okay, yep.
And Trey Waynes is healthy this year.
Okay.
So this team, it's young, but getting a win against a veteran team like Minnesota, a team who's projected to, you know, win a lot of games this year, and a team who's, in other people's eyes, are projected to win that division in a tough grind-out game that went to overtime, getting a win like this only builds your confidence in the division with the Pittsburgh Steelers, with the Baltimore Ravens, with Cleveland. You need these type of games to build your confidence up. So I think this is a big win for them.
I think this is as big as it gets for them. Minnesota, a highly touted team coming into this season. You and me both have them. Definitely, I think that they should make the playoffs after losing to the Bengals. I don't know. I still probably think they'll make the playoffs, but
Bengals are a tough out.
They're
a tough out
for sure. But it's not like anyone really had the Bengals winning this game going into it.
Nah, Vikings was pretty heavy favorite
for sure.
Yeah, I didn't have them winning.
No, neither did I. Now I look at the offense, and obviously what's supposed to pop out to me: Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. Joe Mixon was fantastic. Led the league in rushing this week. Had led the league in broken tackles. I believe he had 9 broken tackles. And this was huge to me because Joe Mixon was really facing a lot of criticism. I wouldn't say criticism, but I guess scrutiny is the word. You know, he really hasn't taken that superstar leap that people have kind of dawned upon him, that it's inevitable that he takes this leap. But I will give him the benefit of the doubt. The offensive line has never really been truthfully solid. He hasn't really had a quarterback that would allow. Dolan was okay, but really you're scheming for Joe Mixon. So he's facing a lot of defenses that are ready for whatever they're trying to do. And he's gotten clamped a decent amount of times in his career already. But to come out the gate week 1 against a revamped Minnesota defense and have over 100 rushing, what more could you really ask for from him? He had a star-studded game. Defense really stepped up. Thielen kind of gave them fits, but they did as good of a job as they could possibly do on Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson, I know he had 10 fantasy points off the top of my head, but like that's not beneficial yards for you guys. 71, that's still a solid game, but not, I guess since the Thielen went off, obviously Justin Jefferson's numbers were going to take a little bit of a hit to that too, but did a decent job on Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook had a touchdown, obviously, but it wasn't the Dalvin Cook type game that you would probably expect him to have against the Bengals. Bengals defense last year was pretty abysmal, so Dalvin probably would have torched them last year, but this season they obviously showed that they're a new team and gives them the confidence going forward. Again, they were facing scrutiny, like I was saying earlier about the Jamar Chase segment. Why did you draft Jamar Chase? You know, your O-line is the problem. Why wouldn't you go and protect Joe Burrow? That's how he got hurt in the first place. And they go and they have an amazing game, win in overtime. Jamar has over 100. Joe Burrow shows out in his return from the ACL. So this is a great win for them.
And in the offseason, I didn't get that criticism because the Bengals made offensive line moves. They have Jonah Williams, who is a franchise left tackle who, is a very young player. They signed Riley Reeve, who has been a solid player for the Vikings for years. And then you look at Trey Hopkins, their center, and Quinn Spain at guard. And they have another guard who I don't want to pronounce his name, but, Bengals fans probably know who I'm talking about. But his name is hard to pronounce. He was solid. He won the job over Jackson Carman, I believe, a rookie. What
position does he play?
He plays guard. He's opposite of a Quentin Spain. This was a great win for the Bengals, and Drew, I kind of disagree with you. And I think their defense was pretty solid last year, considering what they were dealing with in their personnel. Mm-hmm. I think that defensive front is really good. I mean, last year you have DJ Reader, who they signed to a big contract. Carl Lawson was there. Geno Atkins was still there. Mm-hmm. Sam Hubbard is a really good speedster at edge. But this year, Geno Atkins, they let him go. B.J. Hill stepped up. I mean, B.J. Hill won almost all of his reps against Ezra Cleveland. It wasn't even close. B.J. Hill was absolutely dominating that matchup. Jermaine Pratt was very good at linebacker. Their secondary held up. But I don't think this was a horrible game from the Vikings. In the first half, they had 10 penalties for over 100 yards. And the Bengals scored 14 points in the first half with 3 minutes left to go, which means that for the entire half, they didn't score it, but in those 3 minutes, they scored most of their points. In the second half, they didn't score much. So if the Vikings could have just dimmed down those big plays from the Bengals, like that Jamar Chase touchdown, they probably win this game. Yep. But penalties cost the Vikings, but I thought there was a lot of good things. Michael Pierce had 2 sacks coming off of not playing last year at all. Mm-hmm. Dalvin Tomlinson was solid. Daniil Hunter got a sack in.
Penalties from a disciplined and veteran team like that is bad, though.
This is where I disagree with you. Offensively, yes, to an extent, but their defense is one of the youngest groups in the NFL. Yeah. They're still very young. In the second half, they didn't have those penalties.
Their corners are young, not their linebackers or D-line.
DJ Wonnum is a starting edge
but they
rusher.
got Hunter, Pierce, Barr, Hendricks, Smith is out there, so they got veterans out there that. You know what I'm saying? Well, you shouldn't be getting penalties out there because you got.
I'm not sure
veteran.
if they have. Actually, I might be switching my words. I'm not sure if they have the youngest defense. I think the youngest offense. Because their offensive line.
It's young.
Garrett Bradbury, Brian O'Neill is very young.
They have a young secondary outside of Pat.
Brian O'Neill, Ezra Cleveland, and Garrett Bradbury all have 3 years or less of experience in the NFL. Justin Jefferson.
Probably just stealing, right?
And even that tight end, Jack Conklin. I don't even know if that's his name. I think it's Tyler Conklin, and then Chris Herndon. They have a very young offense, so that's where I think the discipline factor comes into. But I think a big sign for the Vikings, a big positive sign, is that KJ Osborne solidified himself as a wide receiver 3. He had a better game than Justin Jefferson, and KJ Osborne was phenomenal. But just to talk about the Bengals for a second, we know what Burrow and Chase did. It was phenomenal. I explained that deep pass to Chase earlier in the episode, but I'll explain it again. Burrow knew Breeland was going to sit on the short route, and that's what led Chase to get open for that touchdown. And Burrow, he's never faced Bashaud Breeland in his career before. So for him to study that tendency from that particular player, it's just a testament to how great of a film studier he is, and he's a film junkie. And I think the best trait about Joe Burrow is that every single week he's going to be prepared. Jamar Chase, in his postgame interview, said, "We got Joe Burrow at QB. As long as we got Burrow, we got a chance." I mean, that's how much faith this team has in Burrow. And there were so many knocks on him in the preseason and in the offseason especially. A bunch of TikTok people. That's why I stay off that app, because it's a bunch of dumbass takes, man. I can't take it. But people said Drew Lock was going to have a better season than Joe Burrow. They said Joe Burrow doesn't have the arm strength to make it in the NFL. And this is after seeing Joe Burrow as a rookie beat Tennessee, which was a good team.
Yep.
Jacksonville, not so much, but he lost 4 games by 1 possession. The Chargers, the Browns twice, and the Colts. Tied with Philly, and the blowouts were against Baltimore and Pittsburgh, it's Baltimore and Pittsburgh. You know that, they're great teams. But Burrow gave them a chance to win every single week. So to see what Burrow did his rookie year and have a take that, says that, he can't be a franchise quarterback is just ridiculous. Burrow has the leadership, he has the smarts, and he has a good enough arm to get it done every single week. I mean, Burrow is a phenomenal quarterback. He truly is.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, that was very well said. But I will say the run defense still concerns me. because last year that's what I was talking about specifically about Dalvin. They were, let me not get this mistaken. They were the 4th worst against the run last year.
Okay.
They gave up a bunch
Who
of
we
rush
talking about?
yards.
Cincinnati?
Yeah, the Bengals. They gave up 2,300, almost 2,400 rush yards. Yeah, really bad. So that's what I was saying. But you know what? Dalvin had under 100. I'm almost positive it was around like 70-something yards.
I don't think he played that good.
But he had the touchdown, so obviously that salvaged his game. But you lose Carl Lawson, obviously. They got Michael Pearson, and Michael Pearson. It was good. Am I talking about the right team now?
Yeah, Michael Pierce.
Okay, yes. So
That's for the Vikings.
talking
though.
about
I see
Vikings?
exactly
Yeah.
now. That's what I was saying. So I do still have concerns on their line and in terms of running, but obviously holding Dalvin, that's a good sign for things to come in the future. But as a whole, still, I don't know if I'm ready to go all in just off one game.
Yeah, Cincinnati, I think, is about a year or two away. But something about them is that they're going to be what the Carolina Panthers were last year.
Yep.
The Panthers last year were a team that, yeah, they lost, but every single game was competitive.
Definitely.
And last year with Burrow as a rookie and the team not being as good, every game he was in was pretty much competitive unless they were facing some team that was far more talented. This year, I think they're going to be that team that, every single game is competitive. Burrow is going to give them a chance to win. And this was a very impressive win, and this was a great game overall.